Good evening. Telling people that I was coming here on a Friday night, some of them thought I was mad to spend my Friday evening taking part in a speech competition. Others thought I was brave. I think I'm neither. Tonight's theme, it's not what happens but how you respond, made me think of a quote by Henry Ford. Whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right. And this one may be familiar to many of you in the audience. And for years, I believed that quote. For years, I worked with my self-belief. For years, I tried positive thinking, affirmations, and then discovered that it was like looking at the allotment going, there are no weeds, there are no weeds, there are no weeds. Oh God, they're still there. So it didn't work for me. Henry Ford was wrong. I realised that 3 years ago. Going back, when I was growing up, I was the middle one of 3 girls. I was the one that failed the 11 plus. My sisters went to the grammar school. My response to that particular event was an adoption of a mindset that I am not academic, I am not clever, and as Richard also says, like Richard, I am definitely not university material. But fast forward, and I passed some exams, but did sort of okay-ish, and joined a bank because I wasn't going to go to university. I thought that was about the right thing to do. And I had a successful career in banking, but then, coming from rural Lincolnshire and being a successful international bank manager, you realise it's very stressful when people are going to find you out. When are they going to discover that I can't do the job? And making a mistake, oh my goodness, the stress of that thought was incredible. So in September 2000, I set up my own business in training and development. My first client said to me, Kate, can you run a leadership and motivation workshop? Yes, I said, I can do that. And then I went home and wrote the workshop. What a fraud I felt, even though they are still clients today. And then in 2008, I wrote my first book, The Confident Manager. But the fact is, it's self-published, so the accolades don't count. Also in 2008, I met my husband. Thankfully, after kissing many frogs, I finally found an internet date that worked. But he suggested a few years later that I took a master's in positive psychology. All of my insecurities from my childhood surfaced. I'm not academic, there's no way a university would want me, I'm not clever, I absolutely cannot do it. No! I was persuaded to apply, and to my surprise, but to nobody else's, the university said yes. So I find myself in 2014 receiving the results of my first ever academic essay, a distinction. They must have got it wrong. There's no way that was my essay. When are they going to come and tell me that they mismarked it? Is it what happens, or is it how you respond that matters? Because around the same time that I received that result, I also discovered something called the imposter phenomenon, and it all started to make sense. Because in 1978, 2 academics, Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, realised that these feelings, these fraudulent imposter feelings, were in their students. And they wrote up about it. And I discovered that I'm not the only one who has these feelings. And maybe in the room it's resonating with you. And if it isn't, that's okay. I'm not going to ask you to put your hands up if you don't have the feelings, or confess if you do. But the chances are it will resonate with somebody that you know. Because about 70% of people at some point of the time will have these feelings and these worries about being found out. So if it is you or somebody that you know, what can you do? Well, from my research, because I thought I would research into it doing my master's, I discovered there are some things you can do about this. You can let go of perfection. It's really hard to do when you've been a be perfect all your life, but you need to let go of perfection. We're human beings. We are not perfect. Kim Kardashian's attempts at looking perfect? I'm sorry, but they're doomed to failure. So letting go of perfection and embracing mistakes. Mistakes are opportunities to learn. We all make mistakes. It will happen. So seize those opportunities to learn. And as for Henry Ford, well, he may be very good at making cars. And I do drive a Ford Focus. But he wasn't much of a psychologist. Because there are some people who think they can, but they can't. And there are some people who think they can't, but they can. Thank you.